Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes. Hello again, everyone. We're excited to have you here joining us for another episode of the Team Engagement Podcast. And I'm very excited to welcome our guest today. He's got a great background in sports and leadership, all sorts of fun things. This is Tom Mitchell, and he is the executive coach, speaker, author, all sorts of fun things. The winning spirit coach out of Windsor, California. Tom, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. What would you like the audience to know about some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, good question, Shawn. Of course, since, before we started the podcast, we got talking a ton about sports, and maybe we'll jump into that a little bit later. But I think, since you're a leadership coach also, and maybe a lot of your audience might be younger generation in the new facet of their career. Just I guess I'd like to share with them my whole life. I've been a coach. I'll be 72 next month, I think, or in April, and so for over 40 years, I've been doing this coaching thing, whether it's sports coaching, life coaching, corporate coaching, and, anybody that has a passion for connecting with people, inspiring people, helping people out. It's a great career to pursue.
Oh, I like that. I like your approach to it too. Just everything. And we won't rehearse or repeat to the audience what you and I talked about previously, because we had a great conversation pre-recording, but, trust me, folks, he's got some great stories. So we'll have to see if we have time to squeeze one in here at some point. But let's go ahead and get started with our questions here.
Okay.
Tom, first of all, how do leaders create a psychologically safe environment for their team or employees?
Yeah. So that term, psychological safety, is a big popular term, as you know now, right? One of my not one of my largest client is Google, and Google uses that term and instills that term in their people as often as possible. It's not always easy to walk that talk and to actually become the leader that promotes and encourages and leads with psychological safety. But, I guess if you were really to cut down to the essence of it, what is psychological safety? It's trust, it's honesty as a leader, being trustworthy, being vulnerable. Trustworthy doesn't mean transparency, that you can always share everything. Sometimes you have confidential information you can't share. Right. So people say, well, you're not being transparent. Well, yeah, that may not be possible always, complete transparency. But honesty is, and, empathy, compassion, all those soft skills, I think, provide a sense of feeling safe, and doesn't mean there can't be a competitive edge and pressure to perform. But under that, there's this vibe, this feeling of safeness.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And that's I like how you said that, because there's so many different ways that we can create that psychological safety, but it really does come down to just trust and honesty and whatnot. Love that. Okay. Tom, obviously you've had a lot of people influence you in your life.
Yep.
If you were to think of one person in particular, what's one word that you would use to describe that person?
Openness.
Yeah.
Maybe willingness, openness. I saw your questions, a few hours ago, and I thought about that. Like, what is that word? So I'll go with openness.
Do you care to elaborate? You don't have to, but do you care to elaborate on the person
Sure.
at all, as far as
So
was it that influenced you?
Yeah, I was a college basketball coach, and I didn't even think about being a corporate coach. My best friend, college roommate, came and watched me coach a game, and he watched, after one of our losses at the buzzer, he watched our team's interaction, my interaction with the team, with each other, and he was impressed by it. And he didn't have the emotional foundation that, say, I did. He grew up as an orphan, and he was really attracted to whatever he saw. He couldn't really put a word to it. And he said, and we were great friends. He ended up being the godfather of my kids, and he asked me to coach him on this thing, this intangible that he couldn't really put his finger on. What was that? And it was his openness, his willingness to explore his own weakness or his own area of growth, his growth edge, so to speak. And I coached him for 20 years. He ended up becoming the president of Pac-Bell, the president of Excite and the president of Consumer AT&T. He had 25,000 people reporting to him at one point. And his openness, his vulnerability, his willingness to grow was what gave me opportunity to become a corporate coach, because that's where I cut my teeth. But more importantly was his ability to become really a stellar leader.
Wow. That's a great story. And I really like that word, openness. It's not one I hear too much here on the podcast. I hear a lot of great words. Openness, I think that's the first one. So I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right. Question number 3.
Yeah.
How can leaders cultivate a growth mindset, either in themselves and or their team?
Okay, so let's start with yourself, right? Before the team, because if you don't cultivate it in yourself, really, truly, how can you actually cultivate it in other people? You can say the words and you can try to demand or make it be part of the job description, but it's not necessarily, I call it from the neck up. It's not holistic, right?
Right.
And so the new book that I just published, I was telling you about, is called Embrace Your Inner Coach. It's embracing that part of yourself that is about a winning mindset. It's about a growth mindset. Looking at really embracing your strengths. What are those strengths? Not just saying them, but acknowledging them. And I could go into a whole thing, I won't right now, of how I saw when my years with the Golden State Warriors, when I saw professional athletes get major contracts, not because what they did poorly or what they needed to work on, but what they did great. So you get paid the big bucks by your strengths, right? So one way of getting this mindset is know what you're great at or you're good at. And then also, another one is get feedback from yourself or from other people where you need to stretch, where you need to get out of your comfort zone, where you may have a blind spot. A whole lot of things we could do. I mean, you could get into topics like visualization, meditation, self-talk, all of those things that could also, but I think the willingness to want to grow is probably at the forefront of it all.
Oh, I like that. Great comments, because it really does matter in my view. That's why I'm asking the question, to have a growth mindset. And I love how you said it, because it starts with the leader. We got to have the leader, and then they can model it, they can explain it, they can teach it to the team members, but it does start with the leader. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 4, especially in recent years, there's been a lot more talk about emotional wellness. What can leaders do to ensure really good emotional wellness in themselves as they're leading teams?
Yeah, it's I'll just talk about my own, right? Where it comes easily, it's effortless, and where maybe I struggle some, right? So and in particular, it doesn't matter if you're 28 years old or 25 or you're my age, right? In your 70s. Emotional wellness is really important for happiness, for joy, for health, um, for energy, for vitality, to be able to hang out with people of different generations. But like how do you cultivate that? Gosh, there's so many ways, right? That you can do it. You do it. Are you getting, regular fitness, and is fitness part of your daily routine? And that's not the only way. I know people who are pretty emotionally well, and they're not that fit. And I know people who are very fit and aren't emotionally well too, right? But what one is your fitness, your diet, your nutrition,
Regulate, sure.
your physicality, right?
Yeah.
Your other, is this is an interesting one, but you can only answer it yourself. Like how much when you wake up, we want our own success and our happiness and our own joy, but how much of that, like, do we put towards wanting it for somebody else or other people? Like, do we really want someone else to feel as happy as us or as prosperous as us or successful as us, to really give what you kind of want for yourself? And I think that creates this kind of weird way of feeling well, of feeling emotionally good about yourself, right? And another one would be just in your ability to communicate and express the truth, not stuff things. The book, Five Dysfunctions of a Team, one of the dysfunctions is the avoidance of conflict, not conflict, but the avoidance of it. So like if you really look at yourself? Are you stuffing a bunch of emotion? Are you, so if you want to be emotionally well, I don't think you're going to be if you're stuffing and you're not really being courageous with some of the things that you really feel. I mean, just a couple things, Shawn, that come to mind.
Oh, I love that. So many good things. And I really liked what you said just a second ago about, let's see if I can at least, I may not be able to quote it, but I'm going to rephrase it, that we want others to be as happy as we are.
Yeah.
And that becomes a focus. And by focusing on others, it helps to lift us up. That's such a great outlook. I really like that. I think that speaks volumes to not only what you've experienced and what you teach and how you live, but it's a reminder to all of us to always be looking out for others and doing what we can to really lift others and help them kind of get to a higher plane.
And I don't want it to seem like, I have this special ability to do that, right? Like everybody has. And not there might be times that I'm selfish and I'm not really thinking big enough for other people. But one of the things I'm proud of is mentioned some of the celebrities that I started business with, wrote books with, and I know that they would not have hung out with me. I was sort of a nobody in the world of household names, right?
Yeah.
Joe Montana is a household name. Started a company, coached a team, wrote a book with them. If Joe felt like I was about me and not a lot about him or about his family or about his endeavors, I don't think he would have put his arms around our relationship like he did, right? And
Sure.
invited me to start a company, write a book with him. So it's also a success principle in a way.
Yes.
It's not you're not trying to do it manipulatively, but there's no way it doesn't come back to you when you're focused on somebody else's success and they feel it, they know it's real, they can feel it in their gut, that it comes back to you in some way or another. So I really believe that with all my heart.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for adding that extra piece because there is some authenticity that needs to be there. And if that's not there, then it will fall a little bit flat. Always appreciated, but will fall flat. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
great outlook. I love that. All right. Final question. Tell us a baseball story you want to share.
Okay, so you had asked about that, and basketball had been 30 years of my adult life, right? Collegiate and professional in the NBA, but I loved baseball. Probably was my favorite sport as a kid. Oh, and I loved all sports, or not all sports. I love baseball, football, basketball, major
Big
sports.
three. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was 12 years old and I was the all-star pitcher. I was a little skinny thing, gosh, tiny and skinny, but I was youngest of all boys and my brothers taught me how to pitch. And so I was the starting pitcher on the all-star game and I hadn't lost that season, and we were down and bases loaded with no outs. And it was like in the Little League, I think you only play 6 innings, maybe. This is a long time ago. This was 60 years ago or something, right? So um, but interesting. So we had a assistant coach. His name was Mr. Negron, Phil Negron. He was from Puerto Rico. He had a thick accent, and I was having a bit of a panic attack on the mound as a kid. I didn't even know the term panic attack, but I was sort of having one, right? And you know, I, embarrassingly, I think I peed myself. I was that afraid, really, truly. Sorry to say it. And from the dugout, he goes, "You can do it, Mitch. My name's Mitchell, Tom Mitchell.
Yeah.
You can do it, Mitch." He kept screaming from the dugout, "You can do it, Mitch." And those words were like medicine. They were like, vitamins in my body because it was the only thing giving me a thread of hope, right? So I threw a couple balls. If I walked, I think we might have lost. I don't remember, but it was
Yeah.
bad. I threw a pitch. This kid hits a bit long shot to center field. It's gone. It's going to go. But I think his name was Lou Candelara or something. He catches the ball and at the fence, and everybody thought it was a home run, and they ran in. He throws it to second. We get 2 outs. We throw it to third. We get a triple play, and we're out of the inning.
No way.
And it was like, who knows if Mr. Negron didn't say, "You can do it, Mitch. You can do." If I had, I don't know, but I don't even want to think about like if he hadn't. But I then took that affirmation, positive affirmation, getting you know, assurance from outside. Sometimes you can't find it inside. You try to find it inside, but sometimes you need it from outside leadership. And I think that I wrote that story in my book with Joe Montana, The Winning Spirit. But yeah, that was a baseball memory.
I love baseball. I love all sports. Baseball is at the top of the list there, and so I love to hear any kind of sporting story, baseball story. But I love that you have a little more depth to that, because I believe, and you can, if it's not accurate, you can tell me, but I'm guessing that it was a pretty pivotal moment for you, and it turned into everything that took you to the NBA as a professional, and it allowed you to continue to work with great people, celebrities, athletes, whatever. But that you still remember the coach,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
I love that story. Great story. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome, Shawn. Yeah. Thanks
All
for
right.
bringing the memory back. Yeah.
It's fun to reflect on positive.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much for taking
welcome.
time out of your busy schedule to join me on the podcast. How can people find you?
I have a website. I have a couple, but the easiest is my name, www.tommitchell.com, TOMMITCHELL.com.
Perfect. Great. Thank you again. And thanks to all of our audience, the listeners, the viewers, whatever it may be. We appreciate you joining us. And we hope that you have found some nuggets of helpful information in our episode today. And we look forward to seeing you next time. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. This is Shawn Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Be sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And for more leadership tips, pick up your copy of Rapid Fire Leadership by going to rapidfireleadership.com, where you can also download free resources to help you in your leadership role. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.